Okay, it's now 10:05. I believe there's still more people joining, but I feel that we need to go ahead and get started because we have quite a bit of information to cover, and I would like to also be able to answer as many questions as I can regarding today's webinar. I'd like to say good morning to everyone. My name is Kimberly Holmes. I am the Program Administrator for the Florida Commission on Ethics. I'm here to talk about the Electronic Financial Disclosure Management System. I'm not sure how many of you were on last year that actually had the opportunity to use it when we had it open at the beginning of last year, but we since have now relaunched the system. And so there has been a few new features that have been added that we would like to go over, as well as, refamiliarize yourself with what was going on last year that you will need to pick up again for this year. So we do have an agenda that I would like to follow today. And also on here, we have Carrie Steelman, who is our executive director. And we also have someone here from our Office of Legislative Technical Services, Jessica Biggers, who will be on the line in case there's any other questions that I can't answer. And also the question and answers, you can put them in the chat. And we'll try to gather as many of your questions as we have that we can get to, and then, answer your questions as we go or at the end. If we do not get to answer any of your questions, we will at the end or later on after the webinar, reach out to you and, get the answer to you. Okay, our agenda for today is, again, this is the Electronic Financial Disclosure Management System, which we refer to as EFDMS. Again, it's the relaunch of the new electronic filing system. We're going to go over how the coordinator process has changed, about certifying your list and maintaining your filers throughout the year. Again, I've already gone through the Q&A feature. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat there, and we'll go ahead and we'll answer those questions. The system relaunched on January 1 of this year. Again, like I said before, we did have this available last year for our coordinators. So if you were a part of that, you were familiar with how you logged in and any, difficulties you might have had. Hopefully we worked through those. But it is, again, a relaunch of the system that we had prior. For this year, again, the Form 6 filers will be filing their forms electronically through the e-filing system, which is this EFDMS system, the Electronic Financial Disclosure Management System. The filers that file Form 6, they are required to do their 2022 Form 6, their 2023 Form 6F, and any amended Form 6X for any year. They will have to utilize this system in order to file their form this year. If it was a year prior to these years that are mentioned here, then they still can do it by paper, but if it's an amendment, it has to be done utilizing our e-filing system. For Form 1 filers, the electronic filing system will begin on January 1 of 2024. So therefore, all statement of financial interests forms that for 2023 Form 1 year, the 2024 Form 1F, which is the final form, and then the amended Form 1X will start January 1 of 2024. So many of you may have Form 1 filers on your list. So right now it's still on paper. They will still, if they're local filers, they will still file with the Supervisor of Elections Office. If they are a state filer, they will file with the Commission on Ethics, which is our office. But one critical part of this whole system are the email addresses. So for this year, we are asking that you obtain as many email addresses as you can, especially if you majorly just have Form 1 filers, because next year, when those Form 1 filers access the system, we're going to have a valid email address so that we can send those notices to individuals advising them of their requirement to file. So right now, the law does provide that it must be a government email address. We know that for some cases that may not be, you know, a way to do that, because it may be smaller entities that may not be able to provide a governmental email address. But right now we're asking for the best known email address that you have for a filer. And then two, when a filer leaves, we know that they will not have access to their governmental email. So therefore it will have to be a good email address where, you know, they can receive the final notification so that they can fill out their final forms or any other required forms that they're required to file when they leave. Hopefully the majority of you did receive your email with your registration. But when you come to our electronic financial disclosure management system, to the home page, there's three options there. There's one, I am a Form 6 filer, I am a candidate, or I am an organization coordinator. As a coordinator, you would click on I am an organization coordinator. If this is your first time logging in, please make sure you check your email for the invitation to register. In order to access the system, you must go through this email, and there will be a link provided in that email for you to click on so that you can create your username and password to log into the system. And then that way you can gain access to the system. Once you do that, then you can always come back to the home page, or, you know, save it as one of your favorites to log in and use, you know, and enter your username and password that you have set up. But again, if it's your first time logging in, you have to receive an invitation to register. And if you are a new coordinator that have not yet received one, please reach out to our office. Or if you're a secondary coordinator, please reach out to us so that we can add you to the system. Unfortunately, I know last year we had a lot of secondary coordinators that were added in the system, but unfortunately, because of the relaunch, we had to kind of start over a little bit. So the secondaries were wiped. So we have to re-enter those into the system. So if you were a secondary coordinator last year, please reach out to us so that we can send you that registration link. That way you can get into the system. Once you have logged in, you'll come to your coordinator dashboard screen. The first thing you should do is your official list of filers. This is because we have to have that list of filers who were in a position as of December 31st of 2022. So when you come to your dashboard, you'll see action items, you'll see messages, you have a filer search, you have my organizations, and you have quick links. The messages will be there, which will advise you that you have your organization that you still need to update. The message for the certification, we must have that completed by February 1 each year. So for this year, it's February 1, 2023. I know on the screen it's not showing correctly, but the date that we need to have those completed by, and you can always check your messages, but the date it should be completed by is February 1, 2023. So when you come to your dashboard, you want to click on your official list of filers. One thing that we do have that we added this year is a how-to video on how to update your list. So if at any time you have any questions, you can always click on the how-to video and it will open up, and it's a very good quick video informing you how to work your list and update, and it's very good. I must say so myself. but you can always refer to that. But of course, if that doesn't help you, or if you just have a question, just feel free to reach out to me or anyone here at the commission. So once you're on your official list of filers, you should see form year 2022 there. You're going to click on the blue button that says view list of filers. From that, it'll take you directly to your organization's page where you have the name of your organization, and it'll give you some brief information about updating your list. Of course, this list is based upon December 31, 2022. If you click on the question mark under who should be listed, depending on the entity that you are, it's gonna be unique to that. So if you're a city, a county, or a special district, once you click on the question mark, it will open up a who should be listed, with information under the statute, who should be listed, which is very helpful. Please know that if you do have any elected officials that were elected last year who take office this year, still need to be included on this year's list because of the fact that they were elected last year and they have a requirement to file. So therefore, please make sure that you add those individuals to your list. So once you click on the question mark, the who should be listed, this is what you'll see, and it'll have information pulled out from the statute that requires individuals to file. And it's very helpful too, if you need to refer back to it for information. Another good thing, a lot of people, I know a lot of organizations may have a list of that they have a lot of individuals that they have to go through to update. So one of the good things in a feature in this system is that you can export your organization list. So if you have a lot of people you want to review them first, an Excel spreadsheet, you can definitely click on the export organization list and it will download an Excel spreadsheet for you and bring that information in. You would just need to open the file and you can work it that way before you start actually working your list in the system. Also, when you come to this page and you see that you have your sub-organizations there listed and you're questioning one and you think, hey, we have this new sub-organization that we have added and we want you to review to see if they're required to file, or if you know that they're required to file, we do have another feature in here where you can request to add the sub-organization. So once you click on that request to add a sub-organization, it'll open in a screen that looks like this. You'll type in that sub-organization name, which is a new board or whatever it is that's been created, advisory type board that may require disclosure, whatever. You type in the name of that specific board and you attach the documentation that created that board. So we're looking for a copy of the ordinance or the resolution that created the board, and you can drag and drop that file in here and submit it to our office. So once you do that, you just hit the save and it'll be sent to our office for our review. If it is a new subboard that we need to add, we will go ahead and approve it on our end. If not, then you'll receive emails either way advising you that the board either is required to file or they're not required to file. So of course, if they are required, you'll receive an email that's saying they're required, and then you would then see the new sub-organization added somewhere here on the, in your list for you to start adding your filers. Okay, so once you have all your suborgs there, or you notice all of them are there, you're going to start updating your list. So you would start with whichever one you prefer. You start with employees. We're going to start there. So from your employees list, or whichever suborg you're clicking on, you have options. Under your actions, you'll have your list of filers here, and then you'll have actions over here to the right. You can edit, you can remove, or you can add the filer to a new suborg. So if you have a particular filer who serves on another board for your organization, instead of you having to go through adding them again, you can just click the add filer to new suborg, and then it'll take you to this add screen with a drop down of your suborgs, and you can add them easily to that suborg. You just can't add them to the same org because they're already listed, but you can add them to a different org, a suborg, if you need to. Important notes for this year, your update is as of December 31st, 2022. Please do not try to edit this year. Please do not try to edit the filer start date. The start dates that are in there just pulled from the old FDMS system. We previously really didn't have any technical start dates, but they were in the system as of the date that we put them in there for. So that's what triggered the requirement. So even if the date appears not quite right for you, don't go back and try and change that start date, because it's going to mess up something to where it's going to add them to another list that they shouldn't have been on for that year. Okay. And then too, they may have started with you on a particular date, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they had a requirement for that day. So please do not try to edit the filer start dates. Any individuals that you're adding, of course, you're going to use a start date of when they started. But if it's for this, but if you're updating your 2022 list, of course, you have to stick with the 2022 year dates. And another important note, please do not overwrite a filer's record with another filer's information. If you have someone on your list that has taken that person's position, do not go into that person's record and change the name information, because we have PID numbers that are assigned to each individual, and it's a unique ID number assigned to that particular filer. So the proper way to do that is just to remove that filer from the list and add the new person. So if you need to remove someone from the list, you're going to hit the trash can. And from there, you'll have an end date, and you'll enter that end date. And like I said, the date must be within the 2022 range. So if a filer left in November 15th of 2022, that's the date that you're going to use. And then you're going to make your selection that they're no longer in a position, or maybe they were mistakenly on there. And then you're going to hit the remove, and that individual will be removed from your list of filers for the year. To add a filer that you don't see in your list, you're going to click the add a filer button. And from there, that's when you'll add in the information for that new filer. So you'll receive a screen that looks like this, and you're going to add in all their information: first name, middle name, last name, address, county of residence. You're going to add in all that good information. When you get down here, make sure you have an email address. The system, when you're adding, it needs to have an email address. So at this point, you do need to put an email address in there for a filer, especially if you're adding a new filer. We need that email address, as well as the filer's start date. And again, the filer's start date must be between January 1, 2022 and December 31st of 2022. And then once you've added all the information, you will see a drop down here of any suborgs that you may have, and you can make that selection to the suborg and hit save. Okay, once you've completed reviewing your list for that particular suborg, you then have to click mark as reviewed. But also, let me go back, if you add a filer and the filer in our system picks up that it may be a duplicate in our FDMS or in our eFDMS system, you may not have this blue button just yet for you to save, because we have to go back and review that duplicate. So on our end, we see that you have a pending request. So we're working through those requests and matching those up if that person matches the name in our system. So, and then once we approve that, then you'll receive an email, and then that mark is reviewed will also become active so that you can click on it. And that goes the same for your certified list. Because we do have to review those and make sure, because if we do have someone in the system that is a duplicate, we would like to have them keep the same ID in the system. Therefore, you know, whatever filings that they've done in the past, it will all be linked up together. Once you have marked your suborg as reviewed, it will be green with a green check mark. And you'll also see something up here in the top right-hand corner stating that, you know, your filer list has been marked reviewed successfully. And you have to do that for each of your suborgs that you have listed here. So then you would move on, finish updating the rest of your suborgs. And then once each of the suborg boxes are checked green, and you don't have any other or have any pending items that you're waiting for us to approve, the certified list will become active for you to click on that. And once you click on the certified list button, you will have a little pop-up that says, are you sure you want to certify your list for the Commission on Ethics? And at that point, everything looks good to you. You can say yes, click yes. Once you've done that, the top right-hand corner, it'll say that this has been certified successfully. So then once you get back to your coordinator dashboard, you will see under your messages that your list has been submitted, and it's in the date that it was sent to our office. Okay, so now that you're back to your coordinator dashboard and you've certified your list for the year, there are other things in the system that you can utilize. Under my organizations, you do have an option to view all of your filers. And then you also have under your quick links, a list of links there that, you know, you can either view, you know, you can go to forms, instructions, opinions, important information, and we do have some question and answer type questions in here, information in here for you to also utilize. Once you click on either your commission, or well, I said commission, on your organization name, or either on your view all filers, you will see a screen that looks like this. You do have tabs at the top that you can go through and check things. For one of the things it's going to have, since you've already certified your list, you're going to see this little red area here, and it says you cannot add a filer because the organization has already been certified. So therefore, you've already completed your list, so you can't do anything else to your 2022 list. It's locked now, and you can't see it at this moment from here, but as of March 1st, 2023, you will then be able to add your new filers that were hired or appointed this year. At that time, the year drop down will display as 2023. So you kind of have to wait a little bit because we want to make sure we get everything correct, or if we need to return the list back to you. We've had a few of those already where they've emailed and they said, oh no, I accidentally left someone off, or oh no, I forgot, you know, to remove a person or change a title or update the email. We can send that list back to you for you to update for that year. So for the 2022. So therefore you can't do anything until after we've already kind of imported this information into the database. But if you have any issues or you made a mistake and you need it sent back, just please reach out to us, just call us or email us and let us know that, hey, I need that list back open, you know, so I can make some more corrections. After March 1st of 2023 and everything is in there, you can start working your list for next year. So, well, really this year, but the 2023. So you can, at that time, you can start adding in a filer, and you need to add in their start date. And their start date must be between January 1, 2023 and December 31st of 2023. So at that time, if you have a new hire that comes in on on February the 15th, you want to go ahead and get that person added to your list, you can start doing all of that now. And that's the benefit of, of working this system, because you can go in throughout the year and either, make a change to something, to someone on your list, or if you have a new suborg or organization that you're handling now, you can make a lot of those requests directly from here. Like I said, at the very top, there are tabs that you can go through. If you were to click on details, you'll see your organization details. You'll see the primary coordinator for your organization. You'll see if you submitted a response sheet back to us, the date it was received, and it'll also indicate when you submitted your official list for the year. And again, it's all based upon the form year. So again, this year we're working with the 2022 list, and then next year will be 2023 list. If you were to click on your coordinator tab at the top, you'll see your list of coordinators there. You can edit the information. This doesn't mean change completely different person. It only means that you can edit your information as far as maybe a title has changed, an address has changed, your email has changed. Those are the types of things that you can edit. If you have any changes as far as you need to inactivate a coordinator, or you need to add a new coordinator or a secondary coordinator, you must submit that request to us. So you can either call us or send us an email to the disclosure@leg.state.fl.us with all the contact information or whatever the information it is that you need for us to do, and we can do that. So we can switch the coordinators around. We can, like I said, we can remove one, whatever it is, we can do that for you. But please do not overwrite any information pertaining to the coordinator either, because of the fact that there's assigned username and passwords that are tied to that. So because that's how it was set up, and we don't want to cross that information over, especially if the person is also a filer. And if they're a Form 1 filer, that's the same username password they're going to use in the near future to go in and e-file their form. So if you do need to edit the coordinator information, again, you can edit any of the information, title, address, but please do not change any of the name information unless it's just a name change, as far as a last name change, a misspelling or something like that, that you definitely can do. Okay, and so now we're back to our coordinator dashboard. And now I'm going to ask, are there any questions that I can answer right now? If someone could read those, because I can't see those questions.
Let's see. Do you use the election date as the start date for newly elected officials?
Yes, that would be the proper thing to do. So if you have an individual who was elected, at the last November election, and then they're going to take office in January, you're going to use that November 2022 date as their start date, because that's when they technically were given the position, because they were elected into it. So that would be the date that you use.
So there's a couple questions about getting this PowerPoint and or the recording later. I know we will be posting this video to the homepage, the disclosure.floridaethics.gov, but if you want to touch on it, Kim.
We'll have it up as a link on our website somewhere. Lynn, is that correct?
It's correct. It will be under announcements on the homepage. So
okay.
Under the sign in buttons.
So if you want to share the video at that point or go back and watch it, if you missed anything, we will have it up on our website. You can go back and view.
So this is a pretty broad question, but do you have any recommendations of who should be on the coordinators list? We have our county administrator listed.
No, it's just whoever's going to update the list. So if the county administrator is one that's going to update it, that's fine. But if the county administrator still wants to have access, that's fine. But then whoever is the one that's going to update it, we need to know that information so that we can go ahead and get them set up as like a secondary coordinator, or make them the primary and the county administrator the secondary. Therefore, they can still have access to the list if they need to.
When will we be able to remove employees that terminate in 2023?
After that March 1st rollover. So as of March 1st, 2023, you can come back and you can start making changes to your list for the 2023, official list year. So after March 1st. And we'll send out something advising, or maybe we'll send a message on your dashboard, but I'm thinking maybe we need to do an email when that's ready. That way everyone will know that they can start, successfully working their 2023 list.
Could you repeat the website address?
Which website?
The disclosure. It's disclosure.
Oh, the disclosure email.
Or not the website.
The website.
The web page.
Let me get that for you. Let me go back to that screen. I'm sorry. I'm flipping back and forth. It's hard for me to remember too, so. This is the direct website. And if I'm wrong, someone correct me on here that's with us, but it's the HTTP and then all that good information, disclosure.floridaethics.gov /.
People can also access the e-filing launch page from our regular homepage that you're already familiar with, which is ethics.state.fl.us. There's a link at the top of that page.
Yeah, and it'll take you directly to that homepage. But if you want to save it, you could always save it. That way you can just go directly to it.
And while you're on, Carrie, do you want to address the email issue? There's multiple questions about emails.
Sure. First of all, thanks everybody for being on here today. We appreciate the work and the time that you put in to give us this list. It's really, really important that the right people are on the list, because they are subject to fines if they don't file. They can even be subject to removal from office should they fail to file and it be willful. Last year, and also again this year, we have a lot of questions about email addresses. The first thing I want to stress is that this year, Form 1s are still filed on paper. No one who's a Form 1 filer will file electronically, but coordinators are updating information for both Form 1 and Form 6 filers this year. And so we are asking for as many emails as we can get for Form 1 filers. The law does specify that the email should be a governmental email address. The reason for that is because potentially someone's personal email address could be subject to disclosure under a public records request in the future. And so having a government email address obviously is preferable there. Now, if you say their governmental email address issued to them is a Gmail address or whatever it might be, then so be it. What we need are good email addresses to contact these folks, particularly Form 6 filers right now, and Form 1 filers when we launch for that. But it's good for us to go ahead and start collecting, because in the case of the Form 6 filers right now, the only communications they will receive about their disclosure requirement and about receipt of their form comes from the email address. We will not be mailing notices. The law requires us to do that communication electronically. Likewise, when Form 1 filers have to file electronically, all of those communications go to them via the email address that is provided. And that is why they need an email address. It can't be your email address where you have 5 different filers and you give them your email address, that is going to create a lot of technical problems. It also will make it so that they will have trouble getting the secure login that they need to be able to provide the information that's required.
All right.
Thank you, Carrie.
So we would have one question. When a new lawyer starts with our agency, do they still complete a paper financial disclosure form that we can email, or do they need to upload it themselves?
No, that a new filer, a new lawyer, I'm assuming this is a state agency, maybe. If it's a state agency and they're a Form 1 filer, it's still on paper. So therefore, they would still download a copy of the form and provide it. They can email it to our office or they can mail it into our office. But it is the coordinator's responsibility to let them know that they're required to file this form within 30 days. So they would still be filing the 2022 Form 1 if they started this year, and they would file theirs within 30 days of their start date. And Carrie, did you have something else to?
I don't think so. You know, for Form 1, they're likely talking about a Form 1, I think, and they can email that form, the completed Form 1, to us, and many of the supervisors of elections will also allow Form 1 filers to email the forms to them when they're local filers.
But again, the Form 1s are still on paper this year. So therefore, no matter where they file, if it's with our office or if it's with the supervisor of elections office, they're still going to file their Form 1 on paper. Now, if you have a filer that doesn't have email addresses in there, that's why we're asking that you please provide an email address. That way, next year, their notices will be sent to their email address. And that's why it's important that we have that email address.
Let's see.
Are there any others? We still have time.
Will the system send the 2023 filers the initial form, or do we still need to?
Or the 2023, meaning people that started this year? No.
It doesn't specify, but I would imagine someone that starts in 2023.
No, the system will not automatically do it. Not for Form 1 filers, it will not. Now, if it's a Form 6 filer and you're adding them in there, they will receive a notification that they need to complete a form. But anything pertaining to Form 1 will not occur this year. It's just that theirs is still on paper and they still need to file it like they have in the past as either a local filer or a state filer.
Let's see. So there's a couple questions about when people leave. You know, if you're removing a filer who has not terminated, how do you select the date?
So if the individual is still with your agency, then we're looking for the date that they're no longer in the filing position. So even if they switch positions, and the position that they were in previously was a filing position, and now they're going to a position that doesn't require it, just use the date of when that occurred. Because it's basically just saying that they no longer have that filing requirement as of that day. So then they are still required to do either the annual form or either the financial, or I'm sorry, or the final form, or both, depending on what the date is that was provided as their end date.
And then when they do leave or they're terminated, should we add a personal email address at that point?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying at the very beginning, because we are aware that that's going to happen. So we would need another email address in order to provide them with notices going forward, especially if it's a, if it's a final Form 1F that they're completing and they need to submit that, then of course they may not have access to that governmental email address anymore. So we will need a personal email address, possibly to, just to get that notice to them. Carrie, do you have anything to say about that? Yes. No?
Sorry, I was typing an answer right as you were speaking,
Oh, okay.
so I didn't catch the question. I'm sorry, Kim.
Oh, it's just regarding anyone that leaves, you know, how they won't have that governmental email address. Is it okay to provide another email address?
Yes, yes, please do. Government email address can be the one that you provided that is a good email address for them, so that this is an email that they check routinely. It doesn't need to be something obscure that they're never going to look at, because then they're going to miss their notice. And lack of notice for not keeping an updated email address under the law doesn't constitute the ability to have a fine waived. So good email addresses are important.
Yes.
Someone would like to know, so when a judge leaves, can we use another employee's email address and then forward it on, so we don't have to provide personal email addresses?
Mm.
And on that same note, you could maybe the value of email addresses that haven't already been used, or unique email addresses.
Yeah, that's the problem with using another person's email address, as long as that person is not a filer themselves, because you won't be able to do that. Carrie, you want to address that one? If you're not typing another message.
I am typing another message, but that's okay. I see some real problems with having an intermediary, somebody who is not that person. These filers are being provided with a notice under the law that we're required to provide to them. And if that email address is going directly to someone else, that increases the likelihood that they're not going to get it, or they're not going to get it timely, or the potential for individuals getting fined who do not file, or having complaints filed against them. Obviously, when it comes to judges, the commission is merely the repository for their disclosure form. We don't, exercise authority over their filing requirement, because it's not within the code of ethics. It's found in the judicial canons. But I think we really need a good email address for each and every filer at the end of the day.
A couple questions about, people who left in November, people who left now, just removing people from the list, and when the appropriate time to do that is. So.
Well, those that left last year, this is the time to do it, because you're updating your official list based upon December 31 of 2022. So if you had any individual on your list that left prior to that date, this is the time for you to update your official list and remove those individuals. If those individuals were not notified of their final filing requirement, I think you should do that and advise them that they need to file a final form if they haven't done so. But this is the time to do it. Anyone that leaves this year, again, you won't be able to make that change until March of this year. So March 1st, 2023, when we have finalized everything, we will at that time let you know that now you can start updating your 2023 list. So anyone that left in 2023, you can then start removing them from your list. But because they were still there in 2022, they're still going to have that filing requirement. So therefore, if they are a one filer, then they're going to do the 2022 Form 1, and they're also going to have to do a 2023 Form 1F. But again, those notices have to come from you, the coordinator, advising them that they need to complete these forms. Because the system is not going to advise them right now, because it's not set up for Form 1s just yet. Again, that'll be next year.
So I know you just touched on it, but the notice and responsibilities of the coordinator, or the filer notice, and then the coordinator's responsibility in that this year for the 1 versus the 6 filer.
Mhm.
Quite a few questions about.
Right. Well,
where
with the
that notice
6
will be.
filer, if you're removing a 6 filer now, and they left last year in 2022, the 2022 Form 6 is still paper. So they would have to go back and download that from our website and complete that. If they leave in 2023, then it's going to be electronically filed. So, but if you're adding a Form 6 filer this year, they're going to receive the notice that they're required to file the 2022 Form 6. So that the notification will be sent to them. And our plan is to send out those registration links for all Form 6 filers in March. And Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but at that time, we will have the list completed and we will start sending out those registration links to Form 6 filers, advising them that they have a filing requirement of the 2022 Form 6 to file it electronically. And that will be their opportunity then to go in and start registering so that they can, access the system, start on their form, and it'll give them plenty of time to file before July 1st of 2023.
Do you want to briefly touch on kind of the candidate process and how the system affects both candidates who file a Form 1 and a Form 6?
Yeah, if we have candidates now that are in the system currently as a Form 1 filer, what we need them to do is contact our office for a registration link. Therefore, when they receive that registration link, they can go in to a filer dashboard and they can access a Form 6 to complete so that they can qualify. By them doing this, they will go ahead and complete the form and submit it to us. And then therefore they won't have to do their Form 1, because since the 6 is a more detailed form and they're using that to qualify, they won't have to do their Form 1 at that point because they've already submitted a financial disclosure form and it is a more detailed one. So once they do that, they can just print off a copy of their form and their verification receipt or whichever the qualifying officer is requiring and take it to their qualifying officer, showing that they've submitted this form to our office. But if the individual is not in the system as a filer, then they will have to access the system a different way by clicking on that I am a candidate from the electronic financial disclosure management systems homepage. They would click I am a candidate, and then they would need to enter in an email address for them to receive a link. And at that point, they can follow the same thing, click on the link and create them a candidate account. But by doing that, they're not going to be able to submit a form to us. They can only print off a copy of the form to submit to the supervisor of elections or the qualifying officer, whomever they're qualifying with. But that's only if it's a Form 6 that they're looking for. If it's a Form 1 person that's qualifying only as a Form 1, again, that one's still on paper.
Someone has a question about Form 6 filers newly elected in November. The question is, do they need to file something within 3 days? But I think
no.
Yeah.
Form 6 requirements are a lot different because of the fact that the forms are so detailed. Under the statute, it says that Form 6 requirement is that they must file by July 1. So that's why it's important that you add your Form 6 filers that were elected in November. Although some of them may not take office until January or took office in January, you still need to add them to your 2022 list because they're required to do that 2022 Form 6 by July 1st of 23. So therefore, make sure you go ahead and add those individuals and again, use their elected date into office as their start date for 22.
Will the Form 6 filer receive a paper form to upload? Also, will they receive instructions on how to electronically file their form?
We will be sending out notifications through email. So we'll need a valid email address, and they will not have access to paper. Not for this year, not for 2022 Form 6. It's all electronically filed, and all their notifications will be going to their email address.
I have a Form 6 filer that has been in office for several years. Will they have to call to get access to the e-filing system?
If they need access now, yes, they must go ahead and contact us, and then that way we can go ahead and send them the registration link so that they can register to access their account. Again, we will send those notices to Form 6 filers in March, advising them that they've been listed as a Form 6 filer, and with the registration link. But if they need it before then, of course, they can reach out to us and we'll send them one. No problem.
I think Carrie might be answering it, but if someone leaves in 2023, one of our advisory board committee members, who is responsible for notifying them of the 60-day requirement to file for 2023?
That would be the coordinator. That would be you. On your coordinator dashboard, there is a link for your responsibilities. If you're a local coordinator or if you're a state coordinator, you can click on that link. It says, let me see if I can go back to. You have been assigned as a primary coordinator. View if you're state, local, it'll adjust to whatever you're set in the system as. And when you click on that, it gives a description of everything that the coordinator is responsible for. And that is one of the requirements, is advising members of boards, new hires, of their requirement to file financial disclosure. And sometimes that can be a problem when individuals get added to the list and they're not aware that they actually had a filing requirement until they get a form in the mail, our Form 1 filers. And then they're shocked. Or if it's a volunteer board member and they had no clue that because they serve on this board that they were going to have to file. So therefore, it's very important that you let those individuals know that when they take this position, that they're hired or appointed member to, that they will have a filing requirement and what that requirement is. And then upon leaving, advise them of their final requirement and that they need to file that form, the final form when they leave, which is 60 days upon leaving.
I think that's all we have for questions at the moment.
Okay.
If I can add just one thing, someone did have a question about, whether or not the Form 6 filers will get instructions on how to file and how to do this electronically. And I just want to assure coordinators so that they can assure their filers that the form that will be found within the electronic filing system is the same form that these Form 6 filers have been filing previously. None of the information that's being asked for has changed. It's just been reformatted to be electronic. And so the system will walk them through each part of the form and completing the form. The instructions will be constantly available within the system. They'll be able to print out those instructions if they like. The font is bigger on the instructions than what it has been in previous years. And for people like me who have trouble with the small font, that makes me very happy. So those instructions are constantly available. There's also FAQs for the filers within the system that's broken down by section of the form. It's searchable by keyword. There are helpful pop-ups within the system that defines terms or concepts. So we think there's a lot more information available to the filer at their fingertips as they work through the system. And of course, they can always call our office with questions about how to complete the form. Our lawyers can help with their various financial situations. And of course, we're available if they get stuck as they navigate through the form. But we had over 800 Form 6s filed last year, and the feedback we received with regard to the navigation of the system was positive. So we hope that they will have a good experience with minimal bumps along the way, but we will be here for them to provide them with help if they were to get stuck in the system.
Okay. Were there any other questions that we can address while we're on?
We have received a few more in that time if you want to take them.
Okay. Sure. Give me one more, since we did start a little late.
Let's see. There's a question about, can we still transfer filers between agencies? So remove from one list and put on another, or?
I need some clarification on that one.
Okay.
I might have to reach out to you on that question because I might need more detail of what's mean by transferring filers between agencies. Is it if they're starting, like if they're with one agency, they leave that one, but they still have a requirement and they go to another agency that has a requirement? You know, I need some more detail on that one. So I will reach out to you. I will give you a call or send you an email.
Let's see, one more. So how do I handle someone that was appointed to a planning board December 15th of 2022 and just submitted a resignation on 1/6? I do not have a Form 1 from them at this point.
Wow. Well, if they were considered a member as of that date, then that means you have to add them on. And then they're gonna have to complete a Form 1, and then their resignation was in the new year, so you can't remove them until, like I said, in March. And then they're gonna be required, they're required to do a final form as well. But since they're a Form 1 filer, you may want to advise them of that, that they need to do a 2022 Form 1. So I'm assuming they didn't do the Form 121 when they were when they took the board, when they accepted the board position. So I may need to reach out to you and see how we can handle that one. But they should be added to the list for the year because they were there as of December 31.
There's another question about transferring people. So I think we can reach out to them individually.
Yeah, we'll reach out to the individuals who we were not able to answer questions for. But I would like to thank everyone for coming on, participating today. We really do appreciate all of you in helping us maintaining the list. And at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or anyone here at the financial disclosure section. And here's our telephone number, of course. I know many of you may have it, as well as our disclosure email where you can send questions. But again, I thank you and I appreciate you, and thank you for attending today's webinar.